Good morning. Hello, everyone. We are live. It's umbraCoffee episode 138. I actually accidentally published next week's episode this week earlier today, and it's been removed. So if anyone saw that quickly, well done. You've got a sneak peek of next week. We are joined today by the cloud and hardcore ninjas, headless ninjas. We have Morten and Rasmus. Hey, guys, how are you doing?
Hi, good, thank you.
Yeah, doing fine.
Yeah, cool. Callum, you just proved that we cannot be too much prepared, because then we are jumping in further in time, and it cannot be like that. It needs to be live, raw.
You say that, but to be fair, I checked this morning. I had to check this morning because the first time that we actually discussed this episode was a whole 6 weeks ago. This is officially the most prepared we have ever been for an episode ever. You told us the launch date. We made sure we were going to get you in as soon as possible. And in fact, I'm pleased to say that all of August is planned.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've ever done this. Most people know we send you a message at like 30 minutes before the episode and go, please join us, please. So, thank you for helping us be better organized as well.
Thank you for sending a calendar invite.
Yeah.
At the right time.
We needed to learn how to do it, so that's also a lesson for us. But you've mentioned, Callum, that it was all planned, but guys, big high five, Rock, for delivering the things on time and going ahead of schedule as well. And I think we can start from chatting about the update which came out from Umbraco this week as well, and then jump into the area of your expertise and your work being published, because today we've seen some of the updates from Jacob and from the whole Umbraco HQ, with introduction of Philip, who we mentioned last week, but right now more about his role in the community, as he is going to be the CMS program manager, and it's a kind of new role, new name of the role, and some expertise and experience from Philip's journey is going to definitely help the HQ and Umbraco community in reaching more people, in doing more around the open source development, CMS features, and everything around PRs, issue trackers, RFCs, and so on. So again, welcome, Philip. And new releases is the thing which was nicely summarized here. And Callum, you've been talking about some of the product releases, but we also seen an Umbraco Uno upgrade with some custom code. And there is a lot of people being curious how it's going to work, and again, probably some people will need to start new trials or at least go back.
There's documentation for this already, so it's effectively a fork of Uno, and you can then modify it and maintain it yourself. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but something what a lot of people asked for, a lot of questions about extending Uno from the past, so definitely worth trying how it works right now and how it will help building the websites hopefully faster and better. And
there was insights in here. We'll talk about GraphQL in a minute, because that's of course why we have our headless people here. But there were some big things, some takeaways. If you read properly the details, not just the headlines, it's even more juicy. So Umbraco 8.7, apparently a preview is coming maybe next week, which will be really nice. The release candidate, they expect to release that next week. So that's awesome. That's got the block editor in it and some other nice improvements. And when that gets released as a stable version, there will be some great improvements coming to Uno as well, because they're going to migrate everything over to use the new block editor. Also, .NET Core, an alpha version is kind of ticking along. They've said a few weeks, but don't hold them to a timeline. I think that's fair. When it's ready, no pressure. But it would be awesome to see Umbraco running on .NET Core as well, at least in some sort of state. And the final thing that I found from here was some improvements to forms from this week. So I don't think this was hugely well publicized, but on the roadmap has been storing Umbraco forms in the database, which, I mean, it should have always just been that way. And now with Umbraco Forms 8.5, you can do that directly. There's a feature flag. You can turn it on and say, I want to store everything in the database, which is really cool. And something I'm going to be going and applying to all of my projects as soon as I can.
Yeah. we'll be talking about releases of system and products and packages here. But as you've mentioned, we have some ninjas from Heartcore and Headless team. So guys, can you tell us more about the upgrades you are working on, and of course the GraphQL upgrade to Headless, and everything else which is involved in that?
Everything else. Okay.
Everything else. Everything. Just reveal everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we
just since Heartcore actually came out, and quite a lot has happened in those 9 months, right?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, yeah. Well, apart from the whole Corona thing, we've of course been working on GraphQL and our content delivery platform. So that's been the major thing for us that we've been focusing a lot of energy on. So I think that's been the main thing. And then so apart from just GraphQL, we've also shipped a content delivery platform, which will be a big foundation for the rest of Headless going forward.
So this doesn't just apply to the GraphQL project. That's something that's going to be across the board for all of the Heartcore APIs.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And so the next thing that's coming up for us is a preview API. That's something we've started working on already, and that's something that we hope to finish within the next month or so, and that will also be based on that. And once we have the preview API, we can start looking at how we can move over the regular REST API, so what we call the content delivery API, over to that platform as well, which will make it super snappy.
So that's really interesting. So you're effectively using, and we'll talk a bit more about the tech, I guess, but you're effectively using that content delivery platform as your way of serving the responses from the API, rather than maybe the older approach, which is you put a CDN in front of an API and you kind of purge the cache whenever you need to.
Yeah. So we are using Cloudflare as a CDN, or I guess to some extent DNS CDN provider globally. So we do also have a CDN, but the whole purging thing and caching, I think we might have spent a good 2 weeks with a headache just trying to figure out how we could possibly do that, and ultimately decided on a slightly different approach from just pushing stuff into a CDN type cache and purging from that, because the purging is just, it's a headache.
Two hard things, right? two hard things.
Cache invalidation and naming.
Yeah. There was a blog post which we've highlighted last week. Of course, you've written here a lot of insights how it works, for what it was created, and also Niels and some more HQ people were tweeting and talking about the some kind of elements and use cases of GraphQL and how it might help everyone basically in crawling and in getting content more tailored for the use and needs on the front end layers of the website. But you've also wanted to share some kind of graph or thing to relate more and talk more about technical aspects, right, Morten? Do you want to share your PDF?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it's here. Yeah, so yeah, we can.
Yep.
I don't know if do I need to zoom on this, or is
zoom a bit.
Zoom a little bit, yeah.
That's fine. Okay, well, we can start with the bottom, since that's like the underlying thing is of course Umbraco Cloud. So what you see here is, so what we call Heartcore 1, 2, 3, 4 here is essentially the back office, right? And then there's a database backing that. So when you log into the back office, you have a deployment of an Umbraco website. With then what I've tried to illustrate here is like what's actually part of this deployment. So of course there's Umbraco CMS, which is all based on. Then we have Umbraco Deploy, which is our deployment module that we have on cloud, and then Umbraco Forms. And then we have our headless add-on, which is to some extent a plugin or an add-on or extension of Umbraco, which enables all of this functionality that we have, mostly around serving JSON. And then HAL, which is the API standard for RESTful APIs. And then you can see I have a service bus on the side, and that's because we pull out the content and the schema, so the document types and stuff like that. Whenever you save and publish and update all of your stuff, we pull it out using service bus. And then we have some receivers up here. So if you go up to the content delivery platform, because that's actually what's serving all of the content, right? So we don't want to be going directly to each of these Umbraco websites to serve up your APIs. There's a bunch of different reasons for that, but I think what the major part is, having single website deployments are expensive and somewhat difficult to scale. At least the resource part of it is quite or can become quite expensive when you scale that. So what we've done here is we pull out the content and then put it in a central data store. So whenever you work in the back office, then the changes are pulled out and then stored in JSON in PostgreSQL. And then we can use this central data store to serve up GraphQL API and the content delivery API and the preview APIs, as I mentioned.
So was Postgres chosen due to the GraphQL, or it was more like a scale decision of having the bigger amount of data there?
Well, there's a bunch of different reasons. One thing is, I think the major part of it is its support for JSON, because it works really, really well with JSON, and just being able to query across JSON is a major benefit. And we looked at a bunch of different data stores going into this, so we have actually dived into a bunch of other stuff, like if you think why not use SQL Server, why not use Cosmos DB, then this is actually what came out on top for us, at least.
So is this a managed Postgres service in Azure?
Yeah, it is.
Very cool. So if I've understood this correctly, in kind of simpler terms, each Heartcore instance, I go in and I create a new site. It creates a new instance of Heartcore on Umbraco Cloud, just like Umbraco Cloud does. But you're not serving any of the requests from that site, and therefore you can have a much lower powered and therefore much lower cost instance. It's purely there to drive the back office.
Yeah.
And then you're using the service bus to push content into effectively a cache, the database that you then use to query via your public API, which you can scale kind of infinitely to handle queries to that database.
Exactly.
Very clever.
And the major benefit of this is that we can, with the Postgres database, we can add a lot of redundancy in that, and we can scale it. We can do multiple regions. So obviously at some point we'd want to expand and have a bigger footprint globally. So when we get to that stage, we can scale the database and we can scale the APIs, and we have Cloudflare in front, so we can actually have global scale of all of this, and it benefits everyone. I think that's a major part of it as well. Also that anyone, even if you have a mini starter professional plan, that you get this benefit of having the scale. So everyone benefits and joins in on the fun, so to say,
You have the underlying Heartcore instances that get automatically upgraded. They're on cloud, and that just happens. You don't worry about it. Also great that the fact that the cache and the site are decoupled means you can take Heartcore almost offline, as in the backend offline, and still serve content because it's in that in that cache, which is great. And then, like you say, you've got this kind of benefit of everyone being pulled in together. For those that don't know, what is involved in running something like a GraphQL platform for hundreds, thousands of sites? So people with very different schema for their doc types, that sort of thing. What's involved in actually serving that data via an API?
Do you want to take this one, Rasmus? You're the GraphQL expert.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough question, but yeah. So the GraphQL, the website instance is running GraphQL.net, and we actually just today released some parts of what we are using to drive the platform. So we created a new project called JoinMonster for .NET, which is a port of a JavaScript framework. JoinMonster lets us pass the GraphQL query est and generate SQL based on that. So we basically just generate SQL queries that selects just the data you want. So instead of getting the whole blob of JSON content out of the database and doing stuff in memory, we let the database handle it for us.
That's interesting. So from the GraphQL point of view, I send a request, which is an object saying I want these fields, and you then directly map that to a SQL query, gets executed in Postgres, and because the JSON object is stored in Postgres and it understands JSON and querying JSON, it efficiently only returns the properties on that JSON object that you cared about.
Yes.
That's brilliant. That's really
and
cool.
You've said here about the limited support for SQLite. I assume it's for like local development on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for
nice.
SQLite, there are stuff like joining and paging and some weird stuff that's not been a focus. So it's just mostly to drive a small sample and just getting started to run something in memory before we had the platform ready.
That's very, very cool. So the big question that I have, and I know that a lot of people have, because this has been mentioned a few times, is why can't I just run this on my server? Why can't I install Cloudflare on my own server? Why can't I run Postgres and Service Bus and all of the backend infrastructure on my own server? Do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, so it's fairly complex setup, and I mean, of course, some of these choices are also made from by the fact that we want to run a service, and we want to be able to have headless customers be able to benefit from using the service and benefit from us being able to scale it. So I mean, you might be able to run something like this in your own Azure subscription and then add Cloudflare on top, but I mean, it would be pretty expensive. But certainly a lot more than.
The reality here is that your GraphQL layer, and in fact your whole API layer, has nothing to do with Umbraco, really. It's querying a database and querying JSON objects out of that database. So it's not doing anything fancy with Umbraco, meaning you couldn't just take all of the code you've written and install that on top of Umbraco. It's its own platform.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's also I mean to get some benefits out of having that JSON. So we take the JSON out of Umbraco, and that's where we use the HAL standard, which I mentioned, as kind of the structure, but because it'll serve up both GraphQL and the content delivery API. So it'll serve up both, and the schema that you actually have I guess it's maybe wrong to call it the schema, but the way that your content is stored in the database then corresponds to how you create your document types in Umbraco.
But that also draws a line. That draws a line between doing everything on top of Umbraco as a single instance, single web app. Because again, still, Rasmus wrote a package at the beginning of your GraphQL exploration, which was installed on top of the Umbraco, and it worked, querying the Umbraco data. But still, it's a single instance. It's same web app. It's not like anything service oriented and separated to serve the stuff outside of the purpose of using Umbraco as a CMS to content manage stuff. So yeah, it might be possible, as you've said, Morten. It might be replicated, but it will cost definitely more, including all of the services for single instance. And then again, is it really worth it? Sometimes it's not, definitely.
But also from using the GraphQL package that Rasmus created, which was a great implementation of most of the GraphQL specification. If you've got a big site with, I don't know, 100 doc types on it, and you've got thousands of content nodes, the cost of running that in terms of memory. It has to load everything somewhere to be like queryable. The cost of doing that in memory is actually pretty significant. It's going to grow exponentially as you add content. And then when you start up a site from fresh, you've somehow got to build all of that from somewhere. Whereas here, you've got a persistent store, this database that sits in the middle, that's always going to be there. And you can scale that independently, and I assume far cheaper than you could scale, I don't know, a big Redis cache or loads of servers with loads of memory on them, to handle not just thousands of people's sites, but even one big site running on a Heartcore.
Yeah.
Confirmed. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We agree.
Yeah. That's amazing. We've been talking about it multiple times in the past, and it's great to see that, and it was something really awaited. So right now it's up to users and implementators to test it out and to validate benefits and you use it for the use cases which are requiring this kind of querying data.
How do I turn it on in my project? If I've got a Heartcore project, is it just already there? The API is already available to me? Just a different endpoint? Wow,
yes.
Cool.
Or do we have something we can show, Rasmus?
Yeah. Show us something if you have it.
Yeah, let me see. Give me 2 seconds.
I can talk. I can be your hype guy.
I was going to ask about, I saw some screenshots of like, what is the tool that the GraphQL testing tool, is it called Graphql or something?
It's called,
no, we are using the GraphQL Playground.
GraphQL Playground. Okay. So it's a different tool, but you've baked that into the back office, so someone can explore the GraphQL API and the queries they're going to run directly in the back office, which is awesome. So for a front end dev that might be implementing a GraphQL front end consuming a GraphQL API, they can go in there and test their data against content and per environment and whatever. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's part of we made it part of trials as well. So if you want to just try it out, you can go in and create a Heartcore trial, and then GraphQL will be part of it as well. So you'll see the GraphQL Playground in the back office. So when you go to the settings section, we have like this small part which is dedicated to Heartcore, which has GraphQL Playground, and it has a REST API browser. So to browse the API, the content delivery API. We also have kind of a browser for that. And then we have a section with webhooks, as you can see here.
Very, very cool.
So so we have the GraphQL Playground. You can write your queries and stuff. And with the Playground you get, let's see, when you start typing, you get some intelligence for different fields you can query.
It got a little bit more advanced from the last time when I played with it as well.
And you even have you can see the whole schema that's generated for you, or you can browse and see what are the different queries you can do, what data is returned and stuff. So
nice.
Very nice. I remember when there was some discussions around your GraphQL package about it being read only because you're querying with GraphQL. There was some chat about like posting entities, or is that even a thing? And is that something that you're going to look to do in Heartcore? I know you've got some API endpoints where you can create entities and create doc types and stuff. Is that staying REST?
Yeah. So so you're talking about the mutation part of GraphQL. I guess it's called.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not something we are going to look at least not anytime soon, because that's going to be pretty difficult with the platform, I guess. So because we need to do it directly to Umbraco to make sure that the data is in sync and you don't publish stuff that's not correct. So for the management API, we are going to keep directly on top of the Umbraco instance, because that's not one you will use that much, I guess. So you don't need the Cloudflare benefits and the delivery platform for that.
Cool. So that actually bypasses the delivery platform completely and just goes straight to the underlying Heartcore instance.
Yeah. We had thought about having like a layer in between, which picks it up and then feeds it back to the Umbraco instance, so that you can, like from a consumer perspective, it might be nice that you can just shoot like a ton of content at Umbraco. Like if you're doing a product catalog update, for example, so you might want to update a bunch of different content or create a bunch of different content. So in that regard, it might be nice to have something in between, which can just kind of throttle it for you, so you don't have to wait for it or do stuff. But that's still some time in the future, and that's not something we have in the roadmap yet. But it is considered that, or something we've considered to add, just to add a bit more benefit in the management part of it as well.
Very cool. If anyone has any questions for our headless gurus, stick them in the chat and we'll make sure they get asked. I have one final question, which is what happens to all of the SDKs that you've got? So you've got a Node.js SDK and a .NET standard SDK. Do they support GraphQL? Is there scope to add that?
No, so for GraphQL, because it's a standard, there are lots of clients out there for different languages. That's cool. You can just pick and choose what you want. They support it. So for JavaScript, you can use Facebook's Relay client or the Apollo client. And for .NET, there's a C# or .NET client too. So it's just use them and it just works, because there's nothing special about our API in that regards. We conform to the standards, to the specifications, so everything should just work.
Very good.
That's nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, and once again, big high five, Urag, for doing that, and people test it out. Share your feedback and let us all use this magical speed of things being crawled through the Umbraco content databases. But you guys mentioned the improvements on top of the Umbraco as well, and I think it's again coming back to the product updates as well, because definitely a lot of things are going to be spotted during the development and deployments and explorations of platforms, Azure, and so on. And we've seen the new release of Umbraco product this week, which already had some kind of improvements for Azure maintenance and SQL main DOM log and stuff there. So yeah, I'm literally learn about it today. So I will be going to updating it as soon as possible. There is a lot of things.
The hope here is that this is the final fix for the SQL locking.
Yes,
I think like there's been a lot of little tweaks and rewrites to it since version 8.6 when it was introduced. So hopefully this fixes some of the issues that people have been having. I like the release date on this as well, 1st of January 2001.
Yeah. It just means that it should be always available, right? It should be there since beginning. It's there now. And second thing which was improved during this the release cycle is Umbraco Forms, and Callum, you've mentioned it already. There were some upgrades which were released this August. It was some
also
patch release already. Yep.
Fantastic release date on this one. Just all of August it was released. But yeah, we mentioned there was actually 3 releases, or 2 or 3 releases this week. Maybe I thought I saw there was an 8.4 something. Anyway, at least we've got Umbraco Forms in the database now with this release and a fix for it. And there's potentially another fix coming as well, because I think a bug was spotted this morning. But yeah, go ahead, install it, move your forms to the database, because that's where they should have been in the first place.
Yeah, and Callum, you've been also busy recently, right?
Yeah.
You've released your package, which was announced this week.
It's been 3 or so months in the work, and I've actually been kind of working with faceting. I had to build a faceted search in a site like last year, and it was just painful. Like you have to go and fetch internal stuff out of Examine's index that it creates, like getting the index reader, and it's just not very friendly or alien. It's quite alien. So I decided to make a Fluent API on top of Examine that you could do faceting with. So with this, it supports Bobo Browse and multi-facets Lucene.NET out of the box, and you can just install it and create a searcher and then query. So it's like query and facet, and then just build your query exactly as you'd expect. And it works really nicely. So this is, yeah, a little bit of sugar, I guess, on top of the examination.
A little complex things which I've struggled with in the past as well, made simple, basically.
Yeah, and so I learned so much about faceting and kind of exactly how that works, and the and Lucene as well, because this is not Lucene specific. This will work with it's an API. It's completely pluggable. But I learned a ton about Lucene and faceting as part of this, and it's really complicated. And there was some really cool things I wanted to do that were just a little bit beyond my my skill set, but I'm still gonna crack away at them slowly. This is kind of my first stab. There may be more. Go try it out if you need to do filtering or faceting or anything.
Yeah, good one, Callum. And Anders was also releasing new stuff, and I must admit that I'm interested in this multi-URL, multi-node tree picker version from Skybrad, because it looks like it has a built-in converter picker, so we can kind of select to which types of items that the values selected in this picker are going to be converted. So
I was confused when I saw this. I was like, why do you need that? Because we've got models builder and it gives you strongly typed models and whatever. But when you read it, it makes a lot of sense. So firstly, Anders gives a shout out to Lee Kelleher, because I think there's something very similar in contentment, which is also clearly this is something that people need. But it's effectively a view model mapper. So you can create your own custom view model. And it might be that you want content pickers to return a specific object via a web API, for example. And so this will then let you fetch that specific object out of your content picker, rather than returning the full, I publish content and just serializing that to JSON. Instead, here you can have a custom model, which is quite cool. So it applies really nicely for headless use cases and maybe cases where you want a bit more control over the output.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I need to dive into this more, and as you've said, it might help to get only data which are needed from the picked elements for the specific use cases to view models to be served. Two more packages to mention. One of them is Cashier, and it's a payment gateway agnostic provider for taking card payments and setting direct debits with Umbraco, which sounds really cool. Again, for handling also to list transactions, to see transactions, and to track them.
It's a very interesting concept that you would want payments, but not an e-commerce system. So for taking donations, I think was a key example. Imagine
pay by a link and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. So you probably don't have a product you're selling; you're just receiving money. And how do you do that in an e-commerce platform? It's kind of difficult. So yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, and last but not least was intra version, beta version with Umbraco 8 upgrade. So intranet built on top of the Umbraco with some really huge set of features used by many in the V7 version from what I've seen. And right now there is a beta version running on top of Umbraco 8. So it was released this week, Callum, right?
Yeah, this was
13 August. Yeah,
yesterday.
Pretty fresh. So yeah, everyone who was thinking or doing an intranet on using Umbraco can check it out and see if it's something what's fetching the expectations of the project needs. And that's from the releases cycle. I don't know if there's anything else which we could have missed from the releases. Hopefully not.
I don't think you missed anything.
Callum is always scrolling all of the data sources, so hopefully not.
Some interesting things that I share with Marcin that can't make it in. Like I found a fantastic video today, a tutorial, someone showing Umbraco and how to get started. And they put this kind of elevator music over the whole 40-minute video. And at first you're like, oh, this is fine. And then eventually you're just listening to the elevator music.
Yeah, and we've been talking about distractions in terms of learnings, and it's just we are not meant to be multitaskers, and definitely this didn't help. But yeah, speaking about sharing knowledge and learning stuff, we've seen some new blog posts and things being also shared across the community. Tim started blogging again, and I've mentioned it on Twitter that his blog Nibble BE, right? It was something what I've used on the beginnings of my Umbraco journey, at least, and a lot of people referred to the knowledge there. And Tim is back.
When V7 was released, there was very little documentation for how to do stuff in the back office. It was a godsend. The kind of tutorials he had on there, and there's sometimes where I'd be Googling a really specific problem I'm having with Angular, and you'll go through all the Angular issues and all of the maybe some stuff on the Umbraco forums, and then you'd eventually find one of Tim's posts, and Tim would have solved it. So hugely valuable. But as I think he said this week on Twitter, the blog is 12 years old, and it's not been updated in quite a few years. So he's trying to do it.
I'm pretty sure that I used his blog as well when I got started with Umbraco version 3.
Oh wow!
I'm pretty sure there were some good examples on his blog, which helped me get started with Umbraco. That and a creative website starter kit.
Yes,
legendary.
Yeah. Exactly. So this blog is still available, but it also proves that we don't need too much to start blogging and people to share knowledge, especially as well. There are some various platforms like Dev2, Medium, and a lot more to just not Medium, but Dev2 to just share content directly, and it's just there, so we can all use it to share knowledge if we are blocking ourselves because of the platform or lack of domains or locations to share. And here is the blog post about the changing the version of the static scripts included into the solution based on some computed hash done automatically and served as a helper to stop telling our clients and users to clear the browser cache to see the changes, basically. So if anyone wants,
I've used a plugin from Yo-Yo. I think Mike Macy built it, called Fingerprint, which does the same thing. Takes a hash of the file contents and just serves your files that way. But there's definitely a need for this in almost all websites, and the whole I have to go in and manually update client dependency framework version or something if you're using that is not fun. So this maybe is something that we should look to bring into core, or maybe in the .NET Core project, if Shannon's smidge is going to be used for that sort of thing, maybe it's something that could be added to smidge. No idea.
Yeah, but it's general .NET and also the front end related stuff, right? Because even if we are serving static sites and we are upgrading assets, we need to change this version to make it refreshed from the cache. And we've been using some kind of assembly versions appended to the sources. So there is and Tim also shared on Twitter that there is a lot of feedback, and some people shared their ideas, and it's exactly made for that. Exchange ideas, learn from each other, and see what we can do better or different in this area. This is one of the approaches, so feel free to check it out. And second blog post was about not this one, this is the old one, I've just opened. Second blog post was about setting an Umbraco side theme picker, including a context-aware approved color picker. So it's again sharing the approach and possibilities of using the color picker across the sites built with Umbraco. Good to see those blogs coming, and we can all learn from each other definitely more and more, and it won't ever stop. Callum, you've also placed some tweets here which we wanted to highlight.
I found really interesting. This ends in 40 minutes, but are people using TORs in the Umbraco back office? And there was a resounding never, and some people said but I find that really interesting. So I'd like to.
We use it.
Of course, Umbraco use it. But I wonder if it's something. There's maybe a way of making this easier for package devs to integrate into their packages, and also making it easier for website developers creating websites to create tools for their editors. I wonder if there's a barrier or something that's actually preventing people from doing this, because it is a useful feature. But I think more often than not, the only time I interact with TORs is a brand new install, and I go, don't show.
Yeah.
But wasn't there a tool a long time ago that was
There was a UI tool to help build or manage the tours somewhere. So maybe
wasn't it Dave that created it?
Dave.
Yeah.
We're not gonna try and pronounce his last name.
Yeah, but that was Dave, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's a need of having a nicer UI, or just the path to deliver tools, because every time when I see tools, I see, okay, it might be helpful for our customers and users. It might show them how to use the systems, but then it's kind of a blocker in the head to start doing them, and maybe it's just also a question to bring some kind of more attention, or maybe Soren is going to work on some kind of improvements around that. No one knows.
I think maybe just creating a video of showing how you can create a tool, maybe that would help people get started, because I think once you see it actually work, it's a really nice experience for everyone who's using them. I mean, we created some for the back office for Heartcore, like how do you use webhooks, for example? How do you create API keys? So there's just a lot of benefit in using them. And once you've actually just tried to create the first one yourself, it gets a lot more straightforward, and it's not too bad actually getting started with it. Of course, you have to learn it first, but maybe when you see it done, it's not too bad. And once you click through it and experience actually getting that guide, that's super nice.
I wish it was possible to register them in C# rather than the JSON file. That's my one gripe. I don't like registering stuff in JSON. It's JSON. Yeah.
Probably front-end developers think that the JSON is better for that, and
exactly.
So yeah, maybe two ways, but that's exactly. I agree totally. Maybe we need to just learn more about it, and to wrap it up, maybe let's talk about another opportunity to learn from each other, because today also in the morning we've seen a tweet from Dutch Umbraco user group about an event, which is kind of unusual in current circumstances, but it's on the calendar, and we can all pencil it down. It's the 2nd October. And it's a Dutch festival,
conference, as they've said, though. So
yes,
it's not an Umbraco festival like we know it. And I think a few key details were missed from this tweet, and maybe people completely overlooked. This is a totally free and totally online event. And rather than just being like every other Umbraco festival where you're going to have talk after talk after talk, it's going to be a little bit more engaging. There's going to be more discussions, more kind of shorter presentations. There's a call for speakers open. You can go submit some stuff, and it's going to be this amazing online this online event that we can hopefully all enjoy on the 2nd of October. For people in the Netherlands, I believe if you're a sponsor and Corona permitting, there's an option for a incredibly small handful of people to actually go and be in the studio live in person to experience it firsthand, kind of like an Umbraco festival would normally be. So that's also pretty cool.
Yep. And yeah, big kudos for the community in Netherlands for doing that, because it's a really brave and important steps to make it back again somehow, even in the virtual spirit. Callum, you've been attending a lot of virtual events recently. There is a way of doing a really cool and valuable virtual event.
Well, I would say that Henk is running, who is part of the foundation running this event. He's built up a fantastic set of tools for exactly this. He's been responsible for the global AI community streams, the global Azure Community Day talks, and the streams there, which was 4 24-hour streams simultaneously. So in reality, this Dugfest is going to be a walk in the park for him. But they've been incredibly high quality events, so I'm sure this will be as well. And from my personal Umbraco event junkie point of view, this is exactly what I needed. Just one event this year.
But yeah, everyone was looking for some events. Everyone was looking for ways to learn, exchange, and share what they've done this year. And not having Code Garden and other opportunities like that is definitely not helping. So here we can all register. As you've said, it's a free virtual event. If you want to sponsor this event, reach out to organizers and discuss any opportunities to help making it better and deliver it to more people than usual. And yeah, that's a call to action from today. And if you want to share something cool, how to build the tours included as well, submit a call for speakers and just help organizers build something cool for all of us. Yeah, that's all. That's all from our list. I don't know, guys, if you want to add anything else from your side.
I'd like to add a shout out to Lee Keller as well. If you're watching, Lee,
cool. Yeah, so thank you guys again for sharing everything related to your work and recent deliverables delivered on time. And everyone who will have questions just can find you out on Twitter and everywhere else in Umbraco universe. We'll of course link all the resources and things which we've discussed today in down below the video. And as usual, we'll see each other next Friday.
Indeed.
So thank you guys.
Can I play outro music?
Yes.
You
have
that? You have outro music. Oh,
no, we don't. Right
you
now
don't. Okay, but I do. I guess. Should I play it?
Yes.
Yes. We can wave then with the nice background music.
Okay, it's 2 minutes though. So do we need to be waving for 2 minutes?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. Right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do it like this. Let's go. What's up? A headless CMS with a strong core. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. From the heart to anywhere and anyone. Yeah. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. Fully serviced back office and managed APIs. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. No delay. Fast display. Yeah. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. Listen. Heartcore is Umbraco at its core. Back office and editor experience like never before. What more could you ask for? A service packed with features make your content easier to explore. Because of its RESTful API, Umbraco Hardcore works as the center for you and I. So we can make the content available to our front end. You know apps, smartwatches, screens, the new trends. Don't worry about keeping the extra code base up to date. We'll do it for you so that you don't waste your time. Instead, spend it doing things that you really love. Automatically expose your media. Hold up. You're telling me guaranteed fast delivery to all the users worldwide, wherever they might be. They never have to wait for the content you display. Sign me up now, man. I'm done playing games. Hardcore ships with CDN, using Cloudflare, providing you with a stable platform, cause we care. The friendly CMS taking over. Yeah, the rest is history. Game over. Headless CMS with a strong core. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. From the heart to anywhere and anyone. Yeah. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. Fully serviced back office and managed APIs. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. No delay. Nope. Fast display. Umbraco hardcore. Umbraco hardcore. Let's go.
DWA approved.
So there you go.
Wow.
How many headless CMSs do you know that has a rap song?
That is.
Oh, that.
Okay.
You've made my day.
Here, I'm crying.
Is it on
Spotify
already? Is it on Spotify already? That's really cool. Yeah, that's amazing. If it will be publicly available, let us know. We will include this.
I mean, we are considering locations for doing the rap video, but
we
haven't found a good location yet.
And of course, any plans for Code Garden next year? we had a headliner here. We have a headliner. Yeah. Nice. Oh, thank you guys. It was so good. Awesome.
Have a good week.
Yeah, if you want to use that for your outro every time, then we can definitely work something out.
Yeah, we need to contact you and get some contacts to the rappers who can record something for umbraCoffee for an outro as well. Yeah, it's even right now sad to end this broadcast, but yeah, that was an amazing ending. Thanks again, and have a great rest of the day and amazing weekend ahead.